Today, we are doing a tiered ranking of every coaster and a few other rides at Six Flags Magic Mountain. So when you visit the park, you'll have a good idea where to start. Welcome to Six Flags Magic Mountain, the undisputed coaster capital of the world as far as coaster count goes. They have an astonishing 20 roller coasters. As I was editing this video, we got news that Superman Escape from Krypton is actually closing permanently. So they are now tied with Energylandia for most operating coasters in a park. Even with that change, it's probably double or triple or quadruple what your home park is. This park still stands alone and unique from any other amusement park with its amazing coaster lineup. And we are ranking these rides based on a tiered system. The tiered system is going the A, B, C, D route, A being the highest, and then we have the S status, which is superior, special, super, elite, however you want to say it. So let's jump right in. First off, we have Apocalypse, the ride. This is a GCI wooden coaster opening in 2009. Has a height of 95 feet and a top speed of 50 miles per hour. This coaster is still a great wooden coaster and the only wooden coaster in the park. It's fast-paced, it's low to the ground elements, and it delivers a classic wooden feel that's a little rough, but not anything more than you'd find on a typical wooden coaster. And also the station flyby is a pretty cool element. I'd put this ride in the B tier. Next up, we have Batman the Ride. This is an inverted coaster built by B&M. It opened back in 1994. It has a height of 105 feet and a speed of 50 miles per hour. But don't let those stats deceive you because this ride is super intense. You'll take these flips, spins, and corners at such high speeds that the blood is going to rush from your head to your feet. And you may feel a little dizzy after. So riders will experience 5 inversions while suspended beneath the track, and you hit 4 Gs. So these rides are always going to be smoother than your typical coaster, which is one reason I really enjoy them. For that reason, I think this deserves, somewhere in the middle tier. So I'm going to put this overall in the B tier. Next up, we have Full Throttle. This ride is a launch coaster built by Premier Rides. It opened back in 2013, has a height of 164 feet and a speed of 70 miles per hour. This ride is perfectly located right in the front of the park, so it's one of the first coasters you're going to see. It opened with the world's tallest vertical loop at 160 feet. And that hang time that you get, you're going so slow through the loop that you are almost hanging out of your seat is what it feels like. It has, I don't want to give any spoilers here, but several different launches throughout the ride. One downside is many people wish the ride was a bit longer. I'd always hope that last drop was an airtime hill rather than a brake run, because the brakes start on that vertical section of track on that last drop, which is a little unfortunate. But even with that, going to our ranking, I would give this an A tier ranking. Next up, we have Gold Rusher. This is a mine train coaster built by Aerodynamics back in 1971. This is actually Magic Mountain's first roller coaster, and it's still sticking around. It has a height of 70 feet and a speed of 35 miles per hour. This coaster doesn't match up with the intensity of a lot of the coasters here at Magic Mountain, but it's still a fun family ride. And to be honest, I don't really have much more to say other than it's just a classic mine train. For that reason, I'm putting it in the C tier. Next up, we have Goliath, built by Giovanola. This is a Swiss-based company which only built 3 coasters, so if you've been on one, you're pretty lucky. This opened back in 2000. It has a drop of 255 feet into an underground tunnel and reaches a speed of 85 miles per hour. Goliath is a massive ride that is extremely smooth for how big of a ride it is. It has next to no rattle to it and provides some awesome positive G-forces. The best part about this ride is the underground tunnel that goes up into that first turnaround. I think those two parts are probably the highlights of this ride. A couple downsides to this ride is the first drop doesn't have a lot of airtime, and the rest of this ride doesn't have airtime like other coasters of this similar magnitude. Other than that, this ride is still a lot of fun. A quick pause break here. The tiered system works here in each section, so say for line B, going left to right, left is going to be the better coaster. So in this case, putting Goliath to the right means that I believe that Batman the Ride is a better coaster. Next up we have the New Revolution. This is a looping coaster built by Schwarzkopf and opened up back in 1976. It has a height of 113 feet and a speed of 55 miles per hour. Here's a fun fact. This is the first modern roller coaster with a vertical loop. This has a fun layout and the ride is fairly smooth for being built back in 1976. It twists and turns through some trees and the whole ride really sets up for that vertical loop. But again, this was built a long time ago. It's still a great family ride, to be honest, and isn't too intense, so you can take the whole family on it. For those reasons, I am putting it in the C tier. Let's go to Ninja. This is a suspended coaster built by Aerodynamics. It opened up back in 1988, has a height of 60 feet and a speed of 55 miles per hour. This is one of the last aero suspended coasters that are still operating today. This is still a great family ride and tends to be overshadowed by all the other intense big coasters at Magic Mountain. It still provides some fast, fun elements in some swinging trains that make it a unique experience. So this is still not one to sleep on. I'm putting this in the C tier at the front. Next up we have Riddler's Revenge. This is a stand-up coaster built by B&M. It opened up back in 1998. It has a height of 156 feet and a speed of 65 miles per hour. This coaster is currently the tallest, fastest, and longest stand-up coaster in the world, which is pretty amazing for how long it's been around. We haven't seen too many stand-up coasters being built other than maybe Pipeline the Surf Coaster, and most of them don't focus on the intensity like Riddler's Revenge does. Personally, I think this is a very fun, unique ride that you can't find anywhere else because of its high thrills, high intensity, all doing that standing up. And for me, a lot of people complain about the restraints and the stand-up position being a little awkward, but that doesn't bother me at all. For all those reasons, I am putting this in the A tier. Next up, we have Scream. This is a floorless coaster, also built by B&M. It opened up back in 2003, has a height of 150 feet and a speed of 63 miles per hour. This is often criticized for being built over a parking lot with minimal theming. They could add a little bit more theming, I do agree on that, but the ride experience, just focusing on that, it's a flowy ride with the perfect amount of inversions for this type of coaster. What makes this ride unique is seeing your feet that close to the track. Also, the best element on this coaster is that zero G roll. So for those reasons, I am putting Scream in the B tier. Next up, we have Superman Escape from Krypton. Even with the recent news of Superman Escape from Krypton closing, I think it still deserves a ranking. This is a reverse launched coaster built by Intamin. It opened up back in 1997. It has a height of 415 feet and a speed of 100 miles per hour. So some unique history about this ride. It was one of the first coasters to break the 100 mile per hour mark. This ride was literally built just to break records, which to me I think is pretty cool, and I still think it's a fun ride overall. You still have that long weightlessness period, which Six Flags Magic Mountain says it's 6.5 seconds of weightlessness, which is more than any ride that I can name. Plus, it has a forward and backward launch, so you've got two sides to choose from. Overall, I would put this coaster in the B tier, but maybe a little bit more towards the end. Next up, we have Tatsu. This is a flying coaster built by B&M, which there are several B&Ms in the park at this point now. This opened back in 2006, has a height of 170 feet and a speed of 62 miles per hour. This opened as the world's tallest, fastest, and longest flying coaster. It has a lift hill that is so high up that it's going to get your blood pumping before the ride even starts. And it has a pretzel loop that is one of the most intense elements I've ever experienced on a coaster. You'll never feel that many G-forces being pressed down in your seat on any other ride. And doing a front flip on a coaster is very unnatural. But being seated in that flying position and the flowy elements from the 0G rolls to the turns, I'm going to put this in the elite S tier status. It delivers everything you would want in a flying coaster. Next up, we have Twisted Colossus. This is a hybrid coaster built by RMC, so this is a wood and steel coaster mix. It used to be a wood coaster and was transformed into this new amazing ride. It opened back in 2015, has a drop of 128 feet and a speed of 57 miles per hour. This is the world's longest hybrid coaster with a unique dueling track layout. And you don't always duel, but when you do, it makes the ride that much better. This ride is smooth, has some whippy transitions and elements throughout the layout, and you get to go around the track twice. The first time I rode that, I didn't look at any POVs, anything like that, and it kind of surprised me. I thought it was two different tracks. This is a top tier coaster in the park, and for those reasons, I'm putting it in the S tier, but just ahead of Tatsu. Throwing it back a few years, we are going to Viper. This is a looping coaster built by Aerodynamics, built back in 1990. It has a height of 188 feet and speeds reaching 70 miles per hour. This coaster features 7 inversions and is an absolute classic coaster. It's absolutely massive for being built 35 years ago. It has gotten a little rough over the years and to many is considered a headbanger, but Magic Mountain would not be the same without this coaster being built. Without taking that into history and its historical significance, I'm going to put this in the B tier towards the end. Next, we have West Coast Racers. This is a launched racing coaster built by Premier Rides. It opened back in 2020, has a height of 67 feet and a speed of 55 miles per hour. But don't let those stats fool you because this is still a super fun ride. It is the first single track quadruple launching racing coaster in the world. This ride almost guarantees a duel every ride. It's crazy too to think that Magic Mountain has 2 dueling coasters. I don't think I can name another park that has 2 dueling coasters in it. It's got some very flowy elements, it's a smooth ride, and you get to lap the track twice. For all those reasons, I am putting West Coast Racers in the A tier. Sticking to that same side of the park, we're going to Wonder Woman Flight of Courage. This is a single rail coaster built by RMC. It opened back in 2022. It has a height of 131 feet and speeds reaching 58 miles per hour. This is currently the tallest and longest single rail coaster in the world. If you want a fast ride with the most whippy elements you've ever experienced and great airtime, this coaster has a little bit of it all. That first drop, especially in the back row, will throw you out of your seat, and that dive loop feels like you are so high up because the track is so thin and you're the only person on your row. So you feel very exposed on either side. The rest of the ride is very fast-paced and fun, which easily puts this in the A tier right at the front. And last up we have X2, which is a fourth dimension coaster built by Aerodynamics. This opened in 2002. It has a drop of 215 feet, a speed reaching 76 miles per hour, and a track length of 3,610 feet. This was the world's first fourth dimension coaster with independently rotating seats. It was so innovative for its time that it actually put the manufacturer Aerodynamics out of business. The backwards lift hill and the tilting action that lets you know the ride is in control. And when the onboard audio is working, it just adds another layer of intensity to the ride. And as you reach the top of that ride, that delayed drop to the rotating seats that face you straight toward the ground. And then as you reach the bottom of that hill, your seats flip and you then enter the Raven turn. And that drop out of the Raven turn, you get a lot of airtime in the back seats. Overall, this ride is so unique. You can only find 3 of these coaster models in the world. So for the intensity of this ride, the uniqueness, how fun I think it is overall, this I think is the best coaster at Six Flags Magic Mountain. I'm putting it in the S tier in front of Twisted Colossus and Tatsu. I also want to give a shout out to some of the flat rides there. First of all, you've got Lex Luthor Drop of Doom, which is currently the tallest drop tower in the world. This thing is absolutely massive. I'm putting that in the A tier. Next up, there is Crisanity, which is a Zamperla pendulum ride. This ride reaches a height of 170 feet and speeds of 75 miles per hour. I think these rides are super underrated. They're very unique swing rides that give you some sense of flying. At each swing, you may be at a different point, so you may be looking straight up the sky or straight down at the ground. For all those reasons, I'll put this ahead of Lex Luthor Drop of Doom in the A tier. Overall, Magic Mountain is a coaster paradise. It has some of the most intense rides of their kinds located in just one singular location. It's full of legendary rides like Viper and record-breaking rides like X2. It really led the way to where we are today with coaster technology. So if anything, we have Six Flags Magic Mountain to thank for a lot of that, for pushing those boundaries. Let me know your thoughts though overall of my ranking. Do you agree with it? What would you change? And what's your favorite coaster at Six Flags Magic Mountain? Let me know down in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe for more coaster content like that. Oh my gosh. And you know what? Just like and subscribe. Thanks. We'll catch you next time.